Issues that concern Nigeria and also that of Ogun State can be heard on the Periscope. The Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio with the host Fisayomi Ajibola every weekdays, Mondays to Fridays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You won't want to miss it.
Still the third day in the month of July 2023, a beautiful Monday morning. And of course, it is Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. And on Periscope, this is where the space where we bring topical issues for discussion to look into different angles and different areas dissecting the particular topic right here on Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Of course, couple of issues, couple of areas to be visited and to be discussed right in the country, Nigeria. So welcome officially to Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Don't forget, you can always enjoy this moment every time, every moment on our social media platforms, on our YouTube page at Al-IyamoyeTv radio. So welcome once again. My name is MODUPE AKINYOSOYE. What are we visiting, or where are we visiting, or what topic issue are we discussing this morning? It is the coping with the rising cases of economic hardship induced trauma. You ask why this? Of course, I'm sure that every citizen of the country Nigeria would have one or two things to say, about coping with the rising, economic hardship in the country. Of course, as a result of different things that is happening, the steps that have been taken, in the new administration, of course. And of course, Nigerians have continued to embrace several challenges, this few years, these few months, so to say, in order to meet up with the dropping living standards. And the recent removal of fuel subsidy has not gone down well with some Nigerians. And this has resulted in invention and adoption of new methods to meet up the increasing prices of goods and services. And a report or survey, so to say, carried out by a particular I think a newspaper platform, I guess, going around, interviewing citizens of different sector, and you see a organizer, sharing experience that he has increased his payment or his charges, so to say, from 200 naira to 300 naira. You see. Even from the education sector, visiting the school, and you get to see the principal also citing instances of how it has affected the punctuality of children, of pupils coming to school late, and of course even the payment from the school fees or tuition fee, from payment, the delay in the tuition fee by parents, even those that do not get to pay the school fees of their children late. They get excuses, and even they had to cut down on some of the extra curriculum activities they do, maybe extra lessons, because some parents could no longer afford that. And even several people, several persons, so to say, complaining, even the house rent, the landlord increasing the house rent from a particular amount of money to a higher amount of money. You get different, of course, even the tariff, electricity, generator, so to say, feeling, business owners are to complaining of, how to, supply power for their business. Okay, a particular man was actually interviewed, and he had to, he also shared his experience that he had to drop his car at home and take public transport to go to his shop, and he had reduced the number of hours supply power to his shop, to work to just the afternoon, reducing the number of how he consume the petrol. And even while I think, okay, I traveled during the weekend and I noticed, presence of people at fueling stations. Someone was actually making a joke out of that. Okay, I think it's an actor. I could recall the video when he's saying we have fuel, but there are no persons to buy fuel at the fueling stations. Gone are the days where we'll have scarcity of fuel, scarcity of petrol, and all of that PMS. But now the reverse is the case, where we have fuel everywhere at the fueling stations, but we have limited and restricted numbers of people, and even numbers of cars and vehicles plying roads are reduced. Majority have had resulted in dropping and leaving their cars at home, because they've been unable to get PMS for their vehicle to go to work or to transport to wherever. And a lot of things, actually. Everybody has one thing or the other to say how this has been an impact, how these have affected their day-to-day activities. The inflation, not to even talk about inflation in goods and products, where if you go to the market now, the quantity of pepper, tomato, pepper, and all of that you do buy, and even the sizes of onions that you see, before you get to consume that for a week. But trust me, the quantity has reduced that you cannot, even in a day, it will not be enough. Not to now talk of families of 5, families of 6, 7, 8, and extended families like that. Actually, all of this, how has Nigeria been coping with this rising cases of economic hardship in the country, or the trauma that these have brought to every citizen of the country in Nigeria? All of this and different areas we will be touching. And what is the government's responsibility? How can the federal government and even the state government cushion the effect for every citizen in the country? All of this is what we will be looking into this morning. I have with me in the studio, in person of Honorable Al-IyamoyeTv, and of course he is a political pundit, he's a public affairs analyst, and a social commentator. Of course, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome once again. Good to have you this week, and happy new month. To you.
Which are the best of the month.
All right. I would start by asking your experience, even coming down here. I'm sure that either you had to decide to park your car at home and then make use of public transport, and comparing the amount you use in transporting from one place to the other to now. What would you have to say to that? Can you share your experience with us?
First of all, I have to say good morning to our listeners and our viewers at home. I must say a very big thank you to Almighty God for giving us the privilege to be in the studio this morning. Coming down to the studio this morning was really a tough one. Last night, as a privileged public affairs analyst and an opportune politician, I'm very close, to my people, as a grassroots politician. So last night I had to make a visitation to some areas, and I was told that the Hausas, the Okada riders that are, from the north, so I was told they want to go on strike, that they won't be working this morning. I had to, ask the person, what is informing this decision, or, she said, because of the, high cost of living and, the prices of PMS, so to say, it's really, on the increase, and, for instance, the bread they used to consume for 150, 200 is now on the high side, almost double the price, so that they cannot cope. So it is expected of them to, to probably, stay back at home, at their converged places, and, because they cannot afford. And when you say who bear the brunt, that's the the consumers, passengers that patronize these Okada riders. And they said when they give them, part of the reason the woman said last time was when they increase their fares, that it's on the high side and the passengers cannot afford. Majority, or say most or some of the passengers are so decided to go on their foot wagon, so it has really affected them. So to call me this morning, I had to get to the junction, with the hope of taking a bike down to the studio. And the experience was so different this morning. That there were more passengers, just a limited Okada moving around. So when we have the opportunity of seeing a vehicle coming, there's already a push. It's I was just pitying the students that could not have their way to get to the vehicle. And at a point I was just worried. So the adverse effect of this, the ripple effect of this, is done on the masses.
All right. Of course, if I would ask you the current state of how things are, we know we will be saying the same thing, quite a while now. But let's just leave that. We all know what is going on, and we are all facing, quite the same thing in the country. But I would want to ask you, how would you rate the coping mechanism, the resilient spirit of Nigerians at the moment? I was, flipping through newspapers this morning and new dailies, and I was seeing, mechanism and the methods that Nigerians have, adopted to cope with what is happening at the moment. But let me ask you, how would you rate it? How would you rate the coping mechanism of Nigerians at the moment?
Yes. First of all, I would love to, commend Nigerians, for the measure they've put in place to really see how they can, cope with the current situation that we are faced with, in the country as a nation. Away from that, I could remember a couple of days ago when we were, celebrating Eid how's it called now? The Salah celebration. So I was just like, what could be? Moving around, I was just privileged to be in the comfort of the ride of one of my political, leaders. And I was like, wow, are we really celebrating Salah? Because there are, fewer vehicles on the road. And, I could see people in their houses. They could, the few people I was privileged to speak with that come. Are you guys not going out to, to enjoy, to celebrate, the moment of this festive period? And I was told that there's no money, and, to move around. There were fewer vehicles on the road, and even the prices of the fares are on the high side. Areas that they used to visit on, on a daily basis, or often at a stipulated, amount of money. But now it's almost double the price. That it's been challenging for them, to really move around. And again, that the prices of commodities, consumable commodities, daily commodities, that people cannot do without. That honorable, this Salah celebration, it's something entirely. But then we still have some areas, some geographical locations where the Salah celebration was really a commendable one. So people traveled around, came all the way from their respective location down to where they had the celebration. But I would say, if I were to rate, or if I am in the position to rate the coping, score card for Nigerians, I would say I give it 5 all over 10. In the percentage, I say 50% on the average, because like I said earlier, I am privileged to to be closer to our people at the grassroots, and the way they complain, the way they look at me and say, is this the Nigeria we voted for? Is this the Nigeria we've all been agitating for? Is this the Nigeria we want to live in? Then I keep encouraging them, with my own little capacity to really do that. So to me, I will still give it to the masses, to the Nigerians, at least to believe in this new government, and I strongly have this, conviction that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is really going to put a lot of measures in place to mitigate the hardship that Nigerians are facing presently. But the thing is, if we have to go away with all these challenges we are facing now, and I think all government, all the three arms of government, need to come together, to work with synergy, to not segregating all other agencies, ministries, departments. All hands must be on deck now to really make sure that there's a bit, how am I going to put it now, for the government to introduce I think some a palliative measure to really cushion the effects of the hardship that Nigeria. Although you see, go to nations of the world that they are enjoying the dividend of democracy today. Some of their citizens pay the price. Like the popular saying in Yoruba land that the pot that wants to cook, how am I going to put it now? Soup,
a meal.
Then that,
it has to go through hotness.
The intense pressure of the lights or so of fire, so to say. Thank you. So we have to face it, bear it to some reasonable extent, and with the hope of seeing the government putting all measures in place to really control or solve the problems at hand. So, and I'm hoping when we get there we'll still talk about it.
Of course, definitely. So what you're saying is paying the price is just like bearing what is happening at the moment, or do you have any other definition to paying the price that you mentioned?
Yes, you've.
Is it about coping with the situation and so giving support to the government? Is that the price being paid to be paid by citizens?
Yes, safe to say. The point is we have to to really help the government by just assisting all the policies put in place, by abiding by the rules,
making it work,
and but to look away from that, we also have to have this perseverance spirit that could make us bear the hardship for the time being. But I'm very sure, Mr. President, alongside the stakeholders. They are really doing, a lot. They are really putting a lot of effort to really see the end of this hardship.
Of course, the least every citizen could do is just to keep the hope alive.
Definitely.
And let's see where this goes. All right, the bulk of the effect of what is happening has been put on the shoulder of the government. But while the survey was, something caught my attention. Of which we would accept and agree to that fact, mentioning that the ways we ourselves, citizens, the way we seize opportunity, the way we use the medium, so to say, to extort ourselves. Now, there are some services, there are some products that they don't have direct, or the subsidy don't have direct effect on. I don't know if you agree with me with that. But course, the fact that there is subsidy removal, everyone is talking about this, talking about that. Even a product that has been in the shop for a while before the subsidy came up, the seller will tell you, is the dollar, is subsidy removal, and then you will increasing products and increase your services because it's subsidy. Everybody is talking about subsidy, and people are saying, even ourselves, we are our problems. Aside the fact that there are effect of a subsidy removal and all of that, and the exchange rate and all of that, we are extorting ourselves. We keep, at exorbitant rates, skyrocketing and doubling, tripling amount of, it could be services or amount of products that you're selling. What do you see to that?
Yes, this is a very strong signal that has become, a recurrent, situation.
And in Nigeria, whatever goes up, finds it difficult to come down.
To come down. Yes, the upward review of these daily consumable commodities is really, giving us a thing of concern. Most especially the direct consumable goods that's that are seen to be the daily consumable goods, like the food we eat, like the PMS of a commodity and the likes, water, sachet water, bottled water, minerals and the like, and the likes. So what actually happened is this: there are some market women, or let me put it this way, there are some traders that no matter how the prices of production, let me put it this way, the productivity, the availability of these consumable goods, no matter how on the outside they are, getting to them, they still sit down, look at it, fine. How can I be considerate enough to encourage buyers, are you getting it?
Yes.
Consumers to patronize these goods. Some traders don't even care. I will cite a scenario here. 2 days ago, I was just privileged, to be, with a personality, I would say a senior citizen, and we were just talking, and to some extent, I saw him, making a call through and lamenting that this and after he was done with the call, I called his attention and said, I don't really understand. You don't have to go to that to that extreme, talking to that. I presume that the person was actually asking for a favor from him, and he was just lamenting that things are not like this before this, and to some extent, and this goods we consume over the years, over the month, today down the outside, and so I was just looking at him, and I felt so sorry. I pitied the old man. Now, how am I going to put it now? There are some, I know of a lounge very close to my office. When you still get there, as I speak to you, the prices of, this, beer and, stout wine is still, a bit considerable compared to some of the lounge that's, bars we have around. Then I was forced to ask the lady, excuse me, how are you coping with your price reduction? And, and she said, Honorable, I still make my profit. With, the little increase I've added to the prices, I still make my profit. And I was like, are you sure? In so bar, in so location, in so area, these are the prices of this, beer and that we are consuming from, we are consuming here.
Which is the same.
Which is the same product, the same production, and and she said, that it is God that, multiplies one's, she was just giving me on, from the angle of being a religious, fellow, and, but away from that, there are some traders that at the slightest opportunity, like you rightly said earlier, some goods that are still,
that have been in stock
in store
in
before the inflation of a thing, came up. And they will say, oh, yes.
What is going on?
Let's be, be fair with each other here.
Okay.
Frankly speaking, the whole thing we are experiencing today in this our dear nation boils down to what we call inflation. And going by the literary, meaning of inflation, in the, in the economics, in the political, affairs, inflation is an increase, upward review, or a rise in goods and services. And when we look at it in that layman understanding, and when a nation where inflation is struggling with the government, I think the government, it's high time the government rose up to responsibilities. Away from that, let's look at it. What are the causes of inflation? Okay, some will tell you, they can, classify the, causes of inflation to be demand pull, cost push, and, what is it called now? Devaluation. Yes, and, and the likes. And they tend to look at it that, okay, fine. Well, we have, let me just, scan through, the classification of, the causes of demands that, we have. So looking at the demand pool, we experience this kind of inflation where there is, more, demands. There are more consumers, ready to consume a particular commodity, and getting to the market, they notice, there are fewer goods.
Supply is restricted and limited.
Supply is limited. So, the little, like what we've just, highlighted earlier, that the already have, commodities, the traders will tend to look at, oh, fine, there are just fewer goods to, to patronize, and there will be.
So definitely they will increase.
They will increase the cost of, of the commodities. So this has really, really challenged the average Nigerian that is, struggling to survive. So away from that, when we look at it, the cost push, this, when there is, increase in the cost of production, and how this, produced goods get to the, retailer, say to say, or the wholesaler, the retailer, or the final, trader that gets it to the final consumer. The chains of production, it's really on the high side. The cost of productivity is on the high side. Cost of transportation is on the high side. Until it gets to the, the final trader that gets it across to the final consumer, then the added cost of production, transportation, and the likes will be paid by the average or the common man who is seen as a consumer of these goods.
But it's not too much to, like you mentioned, and you gave instance of a particular lounge that has to be considerate. And we have traders that have been considerate about their prices of good commodities, products, and all of that. What would you say, or what are the responsibility of these associations of traders that we have? Because I know that of each of different aspects of goods and products and everything, we have the association of this, association of pepper sellers, association of that, and what do you think should be? Don't you think that they should take up these considerable measures, to impose on all their members, to at least being considerate about buyers and consumers.
Yes. You see, for a case study, if I am selling tomato and you're also selling tomatoes, I get my direct goods from one farmer at a so location very close to Abeokuta here. And same basket of tomatoes, you are getting it from Yakubu, who gets its order delivered from the north. So the ways and manners that we, both get
the medium are different.
The medium are different.
So the prices
can never be the same.
Okay.
In a case where we have, a well, compressed ways of getting goods directly from a sole manufacturer, then we say, okay, fine.
Since everybody's getting it.
Yes, traders are getting, from
the same channel.
From the same channel, so from the same, producer source. Then you tend to say, okay, we can regulate the prices of these commodities.
Okay.
But away from that, you cannot tell me if I'm getting my the lounge I use as a case study. I asked, where do you get your goods? He said, there's this wholesaler that she do patronize. And this person happens to be someone who gets orders directly from the factory. Okay. So she has one connection or the other. So it is the truck from the factory that delivers, our goods to her. So it's not from one.
It's not a long channel
to
get the goods.
Like a case study, this paint. I know of a particular brand that has two wholesaler in this Abeokuta. Are you getting my point? So every other people that want to get this paint must go to these two outlets. So they are the authorized dealers. So what am I saying is this: the prices of those goods can be regulated by these two merchants. What I'm saying is this: if the trade union, the market, the sellers union, or whatever that you want to call it, if they would want to come together to regulate price, I think there are a lot of factors that needs to be considered. But away from that, for a case study, the POS operators, they are attempting or they are proposing to increase
the charges.
Their charges. And I'm asking a question. Excuse me, do you have the direct or indirect effects
from the subsidy?
Or from what are you happening? Using fuel? Are you using PMS? Are you using this?
Exactly my point.
So I keep asking questions, and the response most of them gave me was like,
to go to the bank.
Running costs. I said, what are the costs are you running? I said, see, that is the problem. We are the one even, compounding issues for ourselves. And it's not been done, go to some, society of the world. So what I'm, my take on this is the government. Everything, according to the popular saying that everything rise and fall on leadership. So the government needs to come up to the occasion. They should rise to responsibilities.
Okay.
And when we get to how the government can control.
That is actually where we are going to. Of course, it's still Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, and we are discussing coping with the rising cases of economic hardship-induced trauma, and of course, which has affected everything, every business, everybody in the country. Moving now to the government responsibilities and how they can cushion that effect of what is happening. What exactly do you think, or what areas do you think the government should be looking into? I saw a report this morning about the state government earmarking 1 billion naira for about 1,500 business owners across the 20 local governments, in Ogun State, as operational grant for micro and small scale enterprises in the state, supporting the SMSEs in the state with 1 billion naira. So I think 1,500 business owners, as part of, we could classify that as part of measures. What do you see to that, and what are the areas, especially at the state level, and not just giving the bulk of that to this federal government, should they look into in cushioning the effect?
Thank you. It is the states that make the federal government. Whatever policy that the federal government will be introducing to the system of governance still goes down to states of the federation. Now, I would say in one language, honesty. Before I go to the possible ways that the government can control, can solve the challenges Nigeria is faced with today, I would really want to talk about the grant that Ogun State government is introducing to serve as a palliative measure, to listen or to control to some extent the hardship that has the direct effect on the masses. Now, if I am particularly in Abeokuta South local government, and with the little, influence I have in the society, and I could not hear, from, with findings that so personality, so persons get this grant. It's preposterous, ridiculous. And I look at it and keep asking questions. How long do we want to do this? When the information you feed the masses with are in contrary to what you practice. Sometimes ago, a couple of months ago, I heard the Ministry of Agriculture, or that the wash of the Agricultural Commissioner of Agriculture were dishing out grants, loan or grants to assist the farmers. And I know of some farmers that I know they have this direct connection to the government. And I asked them, Oga, have you gotten your grant? He said, what grant? Then my brother, go sit down. It's annoying when you see cases like that. I am not surprised if just a few selected politicians will just sit on this 1 billion naira. And that is what we are preaching. That is what we are agitating. That has been our perturbations in this country. Practice what you say. Live what you preach. And that is my concern. Away from that, the federal government can solve the issue of inflation we are faced with, as a people. Looking at it this way. Number one, to my own, considered opinion, the government can rise to their responsibilities by, looking at the government policies. And when you talk about government policies, you are looking at the two major ones that has the direct effect, in the economy of a nation. You're talking about the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. Now, when you talk about monetary policy, this is a policy that has a direct effect in the exchange rate of a nation, of the country. And when you talk about the production mechanism of, the producing nations of the world, you look at it, you take a look at the monetary policy the government has put in place to encourage industrialists, captains of the industry, business conglomerates, and the likes. I overheard that, if I'm not mistaken, I think in the UK or one, Europe nation country that, subsidizes, food supply to our citizens. There is subsidy on food security. Away from that, you go to is it China also? I think they spend an average of $120 billion as a subsidy for energy. And when you talk about energy, the PMS is part of energy, and the likes. And when we are saying holistically, let's remove the subsidy, to really make country called Nigeria works. And the thing is this, fine, President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been able to take the bull by the horn, then it is fine. Now, the monies spent on subsidizing these PMS of a thing can be rechanneled to the production affairs of the country. Then away from that, the devaluation of naira is as a result of the change in exchange rate. Now, according to the UN or to UNESCO or whatever, an average Nigerian survive below $2. Now, if we want to go by that measure, it means a lot of things are not working in this country. Away from that, the monetary policy that the government must introduce at this point must be, a policy that is going to have a direct effect on the macroeconomy of the country. Talk about how you can encourage investors, the industrialists, the captains of the industry.
Because even some investors are saying they are backing out of the country due to the electricity and all of that.
Do you know? That is what I'm saying. If the means or the cost of production, the means of production is not encouraging, then the investors will back out. Now, one of the ways the government can encourage investors to troop into the country is by creating an enabling environment. So tell me, is there regular power supply? Do we have 24 hours uninterrupted power supply in the country today? If there is constant and regular power supply, the cost of some of these consumable goods can still be, reduced to some extent. Now, say for example, an average mineral seller who, would, for a day as a case study, would, sell 5 packs of minerals. Now, she has a fridge or a refrigerator, so to say. She needs power to power it. And she needs electricity to power it. And in the absence of that, she has an alternate, power supply, means, which is the generator. Getting to the petrol station, the cost of the PMS is on the high side. She cannot afford it. Now she's left with the last lifeline, as these people do call it, which is the block. Getting to the block sellers, she realized that from 250 or 300 as it were, passed in a couple of months or weeks, now it's not doubled the price. She cannot afford it. And she cannot sell minerals that are not cold. Now, look at it in that way. So if the government must create an enabling environment to encourage the investors, that I think at this point is still going to serve as a measure to really control inflation.
All right. Okay, because of our time, let's round this up. But I would ask what you would advise or you would prefer as an improvised lifestyle for citizens of Nigeria to at least cope with while waiting for the measures or palliatives to cushion the effect, or even while the effect has been cushioned, and at least for a while. What would you prefer as an improvised lifestyle?
Yeah, like this funny popular saying that last. Everybody
we'll be all right.
You understand? Go there, all right. Well, yes. I think at this point, I still need to reach out to my people, Nigerians, that at this point, this extravagant lifestyle, this flamboyant, lifestyle, it's not encouraging at this point, because there's this this celebrity, or so to say, that said that coming on social media, displaying what you have got, is a way of intimidating others and causing an average youth in Nigeria today to do otherwise. So this is not the time to flaunt what we have gotten or what God has blessed us with, and this is a time we need to be considerate in our spendings, and this is also the time to show love. I would be happy if somebody just calls and say, "Oh, honorable, please just send me your bank account digits." I will be happy. So in my own little ways, that are people that also reach out on a daily basis, because fingers are not equal. So I still want to appeal to all Nigerians in every ways, in the little way you can. Reach out to your brother, to your sister, to your cousin, to your friend, to your neighbors. So this is the best time to do that. And also, not only to Nigerians, the government too. The flamboyant spending expedition of the government should also be revisited. Should also be cut down. Because this is not the moment you have to go with, your convoy. What happens to you just taking 2 vehicles, 3 vehicles around with your, the security details and, the protocol or whatsoever. So in every form, the government should also cut down costs. This is not the time to encourage flamboyant, expenses of the government expedition. So I think at this point, I also want to encourage the press to also help to cushion the effect by, because the press, sets the agenda. So this is when the agenda setting theory comes in, at least. And also, the National Orientation Agency, this is when they also need to, to come on board to really, start, dishing out words of encouragement, how to, motivate Nigerians, giving messages or information that would, that can encourage an average Nigerian to not to give up and hope for the best for the country.
All right, so definitely continue to hope for the best for the country. That will be the size of a package this morning on Periscope on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Thank you so much. And I would like to especially thank my guest this morning. Thank you really so much. I really appreciate your presence in the studio.
I'm glad I made it to the studio. Thanks for having me.
All right, of course, we've had Honorable Al-Iyamoye. He's a grassroots politician, a social media, social commentator, and of course, political pundit. Thank you so much. Of course, don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on your like button to give you updates and alarm alerts when we have programs for you to enjoy. I remain MODUPE. AKINYOSOYE. Do have a beautiful day ahead. Of course, it's just the start of the week. Let's keep the hope alive. Good morning.